What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I'm going to be sharing a drill that is designed to help accelerate the process of learning the spawns and how they behave in Domination. Let's get into it. Alright, so this drill is actually very similar and almost identical to the drill that I did last week for Team Deathmatch spawn prediction, but there are some very key differences that you have to keep in mind. I should also point out in the beginning here, if you haven't seen the rest of my spawn guide series, you should probably go check that out first because it does introduce a lot of knowledge about the actual spawn locations and how they behave for Domination. I'll make sure I leave you guys a link to the playlist in the description below. Alright, so now let's get into the setup. So once again, we're going to be going to a private match, and for the map, pick whichever map you want to work on your spawn knowledge on. It can be any map you want. For this one, we'll switch it up a little bit, and let's go with Strike Zone, actually. So we're going to be on Domination, obviously. This is a Domination drill. For options, we want to go into game options. We want to set our score limit to unlimited. We want player options to stay the same. For team options, we want radar always on. So once again, we're going to be able to see exactly where the enemy team is spawning. And we're going to be able to use that to help with our pattern recognition and spawn prediction. We want a respawn delay, once again, of 5 seconds. This allows you a little bit of time after you kill an enemy to think about where he's potentially going to spawn. And we also, for this one, it's a little bit of a tweak. We are going to enable friendly fire. The reason for this is we may want to kill our teammates at certain periods of time. While we're pushing into the enemy spawn, we might want to do that alone and kind of see how the spawns react with just us in that enemy spawn. And a lot of times you'll get your friendly bots that will come into the spawn with you, and you don't want them there. So in this case, you can just kill them if you don't want them to push in and flip the spawns with you. Now for gameplay options, we are actually going to disable kill streaks as well as field orders. Field orders, yeah, I said that right, didn't I? Yeah. We're going to disable both of those because they do have a little bit too much of an effect on spawns. And it can kind of make things go a little bit weird when we're just trying to focus on the simple spawn prediction at this point. So that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to turn off join in progress because I don't need anybody joining my game. For bots, once again, we're going to have the exact same setup as with the team deathmatch. So we're going to have 3 friendly, 3 enemy, and we're going to set both of them to recruit. And I explained all the reasoning behind this. You guys can go check out that video if you want to see some of the reasoning. I'm just going to kind of blast through this as fast as possible here. For a class, once again, very similar sort of class. This one's just kind of randomly selected, but basically just something that you can be really mobile with, and you can move around the map very easily. So I highly recommend agility as well as marathon, and either an assault rifle or an SMG. So that's the setup. Now let's get into the gameplay and start explaining what we actually do with this drill. So once we're in the game, just like with the team deathmatch drill, our goal is to just run around and kill the enemies. Now the biggest thing you want to be focusing on, once again, is the minimap and the positioning of your teammates and you in relation to the spawn points and your enemies. By doing this, you'll end up seeing some patterns between where your teammates are and where the enemies are spawning, or where you are and where the enemies are spawning, or even where some of the other enemies are and where their teammates are spawning. It's very important to really focus on the minimap, and this is once again why we use recruit bots, because we don't want to be focusing all our attention on the gunfights themselves. The attention is completely focused on predicting the spawns. Now, the one thing that's different with Domination is the way that the spawns are kind of anchored to flags. So one big thing is you might want to let the enemy team have just one flag, and then try and keep your teammates away from them, away from the enemy flag, that is, by just killing your teammates whenever they start to get close. And then you can kind of run around within that spawn, trying not to flip the spawn out, so you don't want to block too many of the spawns off for that flag and actually cause a spawn flip. And if you do, then just recognize the situation that did cause that spawn flip, and you'll start to see some patterns arise for that particular situation on that particular map. I actually find it can be really helpful. Once I kill the enemies, you actually aim in the direction where you think they're going to spawn, and you'll see me do this in the video several times. I'll just be kind of aiming at a wall, but that'll actually be aiming through the wall at a spawn point where I believe they're going to be spawning. Now you'll notice I'm not always right. I don't always get it 100% right. Most of the time I have it generally, I generally have the right idea, but I don't always get it perfectly right. And this is okay. If they end up spawning in a place where you didn't necessarily expect them to spawn, really pay attention to what happened in that situation and what could have caused them to spawn in a different place than what you expected. Once again, by doing this, you'll start to see some patterns arise. So that's the drill. I like to do this until I get a really good feeling for the spawn points attached to each one of the flags. So I like to rotate the spawns around the map a little bit, try predicting the spawns when the enemies are at the B flag, and then move on and try and predict them when they're at the A flag, and then likewise for the C flag. And then once I do that, I like to move on to the next map. So that's going to wrap it up for today's drill. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.